Okay, hey Mercury.
Hey,
So I had a really tough weekend and I wanted to use the opportunity to talk about that as a way to potentially add some insight to the phenomena of feeling depressed or feeling down on myself or anyone else who has those experiences in their lives. And you had the idea, Mercury, that it would be a good idea to share that with everyone instead of working through it on my own just because it would be potentially beneficial. Did I get that right?
yeah, absolutely. And I think like once you sort of describe what you went through on the weekend, it'll become clear. But I think that's something that a lot of people go through something very similar and might benefit from hearing your um, breakdown of it once you've come out of it, looking back on it.
Yeah, and I have no idea how much time we have because I'm waiting for a phone call, and at that point I'm going to have to go. But we just wanted to give it a shot and see if it was worth leaving up on the channel. So I'll just get right into what happened. So I just started feeling depressed, like super down on myself for the first time in a while over the weekend. And there was a lot of negative self-talk. There was a lot of, you don't know what you're doing. This whole thing that you have going on in your life, the channel, school, working, all these things aren't working out the way you need them to. And a lot of you're not good enough, which is a message that I've dealt with ever since being a kid. I always had that voice in the back of my head that was saying, not good enough, didn't do it right, not up to par, not good enough quality work. And then even right down to the level of just as a person, the value that you possess just isn't enough.
And because I think like the last time you hit a major emotional wall like that, you actually called me and we talked it through. But this time, or I guess not yesterday, but the day before, if I have it right, was the day you had it bad. We actually didn't talk that entire day. And I think that's the first time in like a long fucking time that we didn't even exchange one message. Why did you choose to go through it on your own, and how did you handle it?
I didn't want to talk to anyone. I had such a bad day on Sunday. I was feeling like I don't want to talk to Mercury. I don't want to talk to Dr. Strachan. I don't want to talk to my family. I don't want to talk to my friends. I don't want to see them. I don't want to see anybody because I just felt like giving up on everything. It was a really bad day. It was horrible. And I was just in a mindset where nothing seemed good. And I knew it would change, but in the moment, it felt so real to me. Like I was thinking even like a week from then, I wouldn't feel like talking to anyone. Like I was already thinking in my head, I'm just not going to talk to anybody for a week. And it's been a while since I've had a day like that. I used to get super depressed. I would have stretches from anywhere from like 2 or 3 days to 2 or 3 weeks where I would just be really down and out. And then I would oscillate from super angry to super depressed. So I had this up and down cycle I was going through. And I fell asleep and I woke up the next day and I decided to start fresh and everything changed for the better. I talked to you, I talked to Dr. Strachan, and I felt much better. And it just reminded me of how real these things seem when I'm in the middle of them while they're happening. And then when it's over, it feels like, what the hell was that? Like, what was that all about? Why did I let those voices get me down? And I had this realization that I have a tendency in my life at times to allow the voices of inadequacy to cloud out and to crowd out all of the positive things happening in my life. And when I talked to you on Monday, yesterday, it was just so obvious that there's so many great things happening that I can be grateful for, that I can keep working on, that I can look forward to, that we're making progress, that the channel's going well, that school's going well, that I'm making progress professionally. But when I was in that depressed mindset, None of that mattered. None of that I didn't even think I was doing well. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Our emotional state filters the environment around us, almost like shifting dimensions, or like a Twilight Zone episode where a certain amount of reality is the same, but something is just suddenly totally different about reality. Depression filters your experience of now. It comes with its own thoughts. Like, for instance, all your thoughts about the channel being stupid, not something to do. Nothing bad had happened with the channel right before that, but just the emotion coming in, you couldn't see any of the good going on. And I find that it also filters our memories. So it not only changes your present moment, it changes the whole past, where you're only remembering times you're depressed. And most moods come with, I find, the illusion that it's going to last forever. Now, you said you were able to be aware enough to know you wouldn't feel that way forever. I imagine that's probably a step forward from the way you would have been years ago. Like, years ago, you might have.
That comes with experience.
So you managed to reel it back, but you were still expecting to feel that way for about a week. So it still tricked you that it would be there longer than it was. The other thing it seems like you did well, that I'm imagining you would have done not as well in the past, is you didn't make decisions based on any of that. So sometimes, whether it's that we're depressed or we're angry, whatever voices are speaking inside of us will act on it. So, okay, the channel's going shitty, so I'm just going to text Merc that I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not doing well enough at school, so I'm going to send an email that I quit. Where you actually start making decisions on all.
I used to do that. That's how I used to live my life when I was in my late teens, early 20s, really mostly late teens. I would self-sabotage so hard based on feelings of shame. If I felt like I wasn't good enough, then I would use that as a reason to push other people out of my life. Mm-hmm. And I would do things that were actually hurtful. I would say, like, fuck you, or, who cares about that, or you're just this, or I would insult people or give them reasons not to like me so I could prove how unworthy I was, because that's how I was feeling. So it's these self-fulfilling prophecies. I stopped doing that a while ago. Now I'm able to catch myself a little sooner. Now sometimes I still have a hard time when I'm in that depressed state with, saying side comments to my girlfriend, or being a little bit of a touchy asshole or something like that. And I'm still working on that, not letting my attitude get out of control. But it's gotten a lot better. And even the window of depression, where going down, it used to be this big. And then I shrink it down to this smaller. Then I shrink it down smaller. And now it's here. Now it's like, okay, so the longest cycle I'll have is 24 hours. Like, that's been true for over 3 years. The longest cycle I'll have is a day. Usually I can bounce out of it after a couple hours, just by really meditating or focusing on changing that mood. But Sunday, it was just, I went down hard. Like, I went down to the bottom. And I came back up naturally because I've worked on it so much over the years. But there was times where I wouldn't come back up naturally. I had to force my way up.
And so what did you do to stop yourself from making decisions based on it? How did you answer? So let's pick one specific thing. Sunday, it felt like the channel was ridiculous, that you shouldn't be doing it. How did you respond to that? What's different from when you were younger? Possibly. And you'd never told me before what you just said about when you were younger and got into those moods, the way you'd self-sabotage. We've never discussed that before, but I just see that pattern in the emotional state you have, that everyone I know that embodies that until they learn how to do exactly what you used to do in the past. So what did you do yesterday when those thoughts occurred to keep yourself from acting on them?
Yeah, it was actually 2 days ago, Sunday. And
2 days ago, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter really, but I have a way of letting it play out a little more now than I used to, where I don't necessarily react to it. Like, I don't, like, sometimes I just think, okay, if I just let myself feel this way for 5 or 6 hours, it's going to change. So I know that about myself. Like, I know that it's going to change for me over the years. That's how it's worked for me. So instead of making it worse, which I could stretch it for a few days if I wanted to, just keep being an asshole and keep giving myself reasons to feel bad about myself and self-sabotage. But instead I just play it out. I'm like, okay, so maybe today I'm just not going to be productive, or maybe I'm just going to let myself feel this way for a few hours and see how I feel when I wake up tomorrow. And that's what I did. I didn't make any decisions. I didn't try to make myself feel better. Sometimes I'll actually try to make myself feel better, but I didn't do that.
So it seems like, in a way, you almost treated it like a physical injury. Like if you had fucked your knee up that day, where you're not going to make decisions, okay, I'm never going to be able to walk again, but you say like, okay, fuck, well, I'm going to have to put off, you know, this yard work and stuff because my knee's fucked up right now. It will heal on its own.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, and I find like Sam Harris will talk about you can choose how long to be angry, and worked with that. And I found, like, as long as we're not talking a real bipolar rage, I've gotten very good at, yes, you really can choose how long to be angry. It seems to me with depression, at least from my own experience, it's not as easy to choose not to, but you can sort of choose not to hold on to it any longer than it's going to be. And yeah, to treat it like a fucked up shoulder, where you know you just need to rest at the moment and you need to like take care of yourself and let that recuperate.
Yeah, and that's kind of what happened. And I definitely went, like, the way it happened was I was in the shame, I was in the depression. I started feeling like I didn't want to do all these things that I was doing. And then eventually it got to the point where I saw the way that I was just in this mood, this cyclical mood, that nothing I said was rational or logical. It was all just like attacking. And that's a part of myself that I call the black hole. And for any of you who's been following my series with Dr. Shopkins, you know that we have the sub-personalities. And so I call that part of myself the black hole. There's just nothing that it doesn't want to consume. It doesn't think anything is worth doing. It doesn't think anything is positive value. It just has a million nihilistic reasons to just drive everything into the ground. So when I'm in that part of myself, the other parts of me know that there's no reasoning with logic with that part of myself. So I can try to shift into another part, or I can just let that wave pass and just let it move on. And it seems to work for me if I do let it move on. But I definitely have to actively work on not letting it take over. That's the thing, is because once it takes over, then you're in the rut, you know, then I'm in the situation of having to figure out how do I deal with it. But if I could stop it from taking over in the first place, which I've definitely made progress on, then I'm really cooking. So if I could see the early signs of when it's coming, like if I see, okay, so I'm starting to talk to myself a certain way, or I'm starting to have certain emotions, then I know that there's some triggers happening, and that if I don't do something about it now, it might get progressively more intense.
Okay, and so notice how up until you brought up the black hole, you were wording everything I. Until you took the time to articulate the black hole for our sake, everything was I was thinking this. I was. Whereas you can take that sort of step back from that storm and don't identify yourself as the black hole. Like if I wake up with just suicidal thoughts going through my head, I don't define that I am thinking that. Those are the thoughts that depression, like it's as if depression is like an entity that has entered and it's it speaking, not me. So rather than I want to kill myself, I might say I'm feeling like I want to kill myself because I'm depressed, but also all those ideas. I think I suck. I think this is shitty. I think this is shitty. I separate that and I say the depression thinks these things. So my suicidal depression thinks I should kill myself.
Right.
I don't. So when the thought comes into my head, I define that as not the higher me.
Right.
I define that. So you can realize that, and that is always what the black hole thinks about you. It's not that the black hole sometimes likes you and sometimes doesn't. The black hole's opinion of you is all of that shitty stuff. It's just sometimes the black hole goes to sleep or is put away where you're not hearing what it thinks. But it always thinks that. So when it's loose.
Let me just pause you for a second, because Dr. Shopkins just called in and said he wants to be a part of our chat. So do you mind if I put him on speakerphone?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I only have a few more minutes. But,
no, I don't, because you asked if I minded.
Okay, so can you hear the phone ringing?
Brian.
Can you hear Roger okay?
Try again.
Hey, Roger, try talking. You're on the radio with us.
Thank you. I just had a major epiphany, and it's wonderful timing to join what you guys are talking about. And I've been listening. I don't know your guest's name. What's your name?
He's my partner, Mercury.
Mercury. Okay. Mercury, may I address you?
Yes, absolutely. And it's very nice to meet you, Dr. Shopkins. I've heard lots about you. And I've.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear him. Can he hear me?
Oh, crap. He can't hear you. Let me change the. Okay. Say that again, Merc.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to meet you, Dr. Shopkins. Ryan's told me a lot about you, and I've watched a lot of the videos you guys have recorded together. I've been looking forward to meeting you.
Did you get all that, Roger?
Yes, but I need Mercury's volume up louder. Is there any way I can be visually on what you guys are doing?
Sure, I'll send you the link. Check your email, and you'll be on with us. Okay?
Okay.
All right, see you in a minute.
Good
So Mercury, just keep talking about what you were saying while we get Roger on.
I don't know. What the fuck was I saying?
I don't know.
I ramble on about all kinds of shit.
I got to get Roger the link here. This is awesome. So glad he's joining us. But yeah, everything that you were saying to me makes perfect sense. And I'm going to email Dr. Shopkins so he can join us. And we will continue on. So everybody just hang in with us and write in the comment section, anybody who's listening, do you have any experience with self-sabotage or feelings of being down or depressed and having a hard time getting out of it or anything like that? If you feel like sharing, then we'd love to hear from you. And I'm just going to work on getting this email out. Having a couple slow issues with my computer, so if you have anything that comes to mind to fill up the space, then go for it.
Yeah, I lost the train of what I was saying before the call came in.
Let's check the chat and see what people are saying. I just sent the email, so Roger should be here any minute now. And let me check the chat on YouTube and see what people are saying. We've got 13 people. Somebody says, how is it possible for this channel to have 28,000 subscribers, but only 12 people watching? I have no idea. That's a question that I've been asking myself. I experienced pretty much exactly what you just described for yourself. Thanks, Dick, for sharing. Dick Justice, awesome. Digital Brand says, great topic. And Roman Labus says, hey, man. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Dr. Shopkins is going to be with us here just a second to address some of the things we're talking about. I'm so glad he called in. That's so cool to be able to get him live with us. So let's see. Yep, he has the link. So all he has to do is click the link, and he'll be on with us. So yeah, so we'll just keep going. So I'm in the depressed state. Nothing seems worth doing. identified it as the black hole. And I know that when I'm in this place that nothing's going to feel worth doing. And and I even think, like, when I'm in that place, this is the way I'm going to feel forever. And Mercury, I've even heard you talk about that before, where when you're in a place like that, you feel like it's just going to continue to be that way over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. Each emotional state comes, it's like as if, like, to use the metaphor of the emotional states as gods, it's like when a god steps into a territory, they want to claim it as theirs, and it always has been and it always will be. And so whether it's depression, even your joy will do that to you. When you're really caught up and you're in a good flow state and you're feeling wonderful, it kind of feels like you've always felt that way. All your memories that are going to come up are your best memories. And it feels like this is going to last forever. Even though you don't consciously think that, there's that feeling. When you're in a flow state and you're having a great day, you would just schedule an entire mountain of impossible things to do for yourself for the next year. Because you're like, yes, I'm on fire. I love doing this. And you just have to become aware that each one of these gods is going to claim permanent rulership of your life. And in fact, they come and go. So it's the depression feels like it'll stay forever. And like you said, it used to feel forever. But on Sunday, you got it back to where you were like, hey, I know this won't last forever, but I'm probably going to feel this way for the next week. You've like dropped it down. And like sometimes there's something to be reasonable about. Like in my winter depression, I'm aware I'm not going to wake up feeling the way I do in the summer the next day. But I more and more remove the limitations on how soon I can feel better. Also, even with, and like Sam Harris's shit about being able to choose how long you're angry, that stuff's fantastic. If you work at that, I think you can really get down to where you're just feeling anger for a few seconds at a time at the most. Depression, I don't know if you can get to that degree, but you can get to where you see through the illusions. So you know it hasn't existed forever. You know it won't continue forever. And where you're not fooled by its thoughts. So if you know that the black hole thinks you're a piece of shit, don't be surprised when you hear inside your head, you're a piece of shit, Ryan. And don't assume it's you. It's the black hole. That's obviously coming from the black hole. That's always what it says. And you can sort of take a step back from the storm. And then first of all, you don't go with what the black hole decides. Because if you let the black hole take over, if you let it sit on the throne inside you, where your soul should be sitting, it will proceed to make decisions and do actions that will manifest its beliefs into your future. If you let it sit on the throne take over, you will become that eventually. So instead, you want to, and you don't have to fight it as in, like with my suicidal depression, I don't try to convince my suicidal depression that I should live. I accept that it feels that way. I agree to disagree. And then if it needs to sit and wail and moan in my head for a while before it's going to calm down, I let it do that, the way you might let a child cry something out. But I don't act on it. And then you can get it to where the same way with a physical injury, where you can have your back thrown out and be really enjoying a good conversation. Or you can have like a incredible pain, both your knees broken, and you can be in love with your girlfriend at the same time and be having a great connection. It tends to seem like with depression, you can't do that. But I found I actually can. I can get to where, yes, I'm
Roger's
depressed.
calling again. Hold on a second. Oops. What happened? Yeah, you're gonna have to pause. You're gonna have to pause your audio because you're back on now.
Say that again.
You're back on now.
Yeah. So I don't see you guys though.
I don't know what's going on. Do you want to just go ahead and talk and we'll listen and that'll work for now?
Or do you want to?
But I'm on my television's on YouTube. I'm watching you live.
Right. I know you're watching us, but do you have anything you want to tell everyone right now?
Well, I want to speak to Mercury.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll try to set this up so you can speak to him, but I'm not sure how we're going to be able to get you on the live stream if the link's not working. So let's see if you can.
All right, then
would it help?
talk, I guess.
Okay. Okay. So
Try to get me on. Is there anything you can do to try to get me on?
did you click the link I emailed to you?
Yes, I did. I'll do it again.
Okay. So we're just going to stop the broadcast and press restart, and that'll work. Okay, Merc? Does that sound good?
Yeah, I was going to say, let's just shut this down and restart.
Okay. Click the link again, everyone.